right, what's good, Devcon? How are you feeling? Excellent. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Evin McMullen, and I am CSO and co-founder of Privado ID, along with a handful of other honors throughout the ecosystem throughout my career. How many of you would consider yourselves to be cypherpunks? I'm seeing some hands here. This week, there are a lot of brand new members of our community who haven't yet had the opportunity to identify with that term, cypherpunk. And I keep hearing things in the hallways like privacy doesn't matter. So I think we need a little refresher of the reason why we come to DevCon, the reason we build with blockchains, the reason this industry exists at all. The cypherpunk movement originated in the late 80s as a response to the growing threat of centralized powers invading individual privacy. However, the origin of this ethos and associated tech far precedes the era of networked computing. So let's look at the root of what got us here today. Around 2600 BC, the Mesopotamian kings had servants take a block of stone and carve their names into it, placing it in the middle of the town square in a show of force and declaration of power. Then, after that king, the next king had his name carved on a giant block, had his servants come down to the town square and put his block on top, showing the closure of one epoch and the opening of a new window of time under his reign. This stack, a physical chain of command, became the first calendar. And ancient Mesopotamia, a thriving ecosystem whose governance was anchored in a protocol that measures time based on blocks, perhaps the first literal blockchain. In the Zhou dynasty, people started producing these metal pieces shaped like spades, but too thin for practical use. Instead, they were monetary instruments inscribed with characters indicating denominations that facilitated transactions, providing access to services, representing assets, but having no intrinsic physical use. In medieval Ghent, not far from Brussels, there's a belfry where the city documents are stored inside of this chest. But this chest has 3 padlocks, each with separate keys held by separate parties. The room that holds it is also locked by 3 separate padlocks requiring 3 separate people. 3 of 3 multisigs required to push updates to the protocol. During 1870s Singapore, there were secret societies, each with their own rituals, practices, and symbols. These groups of people self-organized into cooperatives to provide employment, wellness, and address one another's social needs. Secret society membership was only valid if they were marked with seals on the bottom. The leaders of the secret societies, the signers, had seals carved in wooden blocks that they would stamp in these documents. Secret society stamps, zero-knowledge attestations only valid with the right private key signature. Barcelona in Spain was and still is the heart of the Catalonian economy. In the 1500s, Barcelona's mints produced fiat tokens which contributed to their wealth and global force. The church saw this practice and forked the protocol to create their own tokens. The design of the tokens would change seasonally, so you'd get new season drops only if you were locked in on the right day. As members of the congregation participated in the liturgy, they could earn additional tokens. If they held for a long time, they would get more. There were withdrawal periods when they could swap for fiat, and even greater rewards for keeping those tokens. Sounds like an incredible proof of work token with season-based airdrops, a robust incentive and staking program, and withdrawal periods. Also in the 1500s, the term privado was used to refer to a highly trusted advisor of the Spanish monarch. The privado was often a close confidant of the king and held significant influence over royal decisions, sometimes wielding even more power than the kings themselves, or than other royal ministers themselves. The privado was not an official government position, but rather a personal one that usually involved advising matters of state, diplomacy, and even personal issues, making the privado one of the most powerful sources of security in the kingdom. Unlike the rest of our examples today, we actually don't see a huge difference in implementation when it comes to privado. Privado is still the most powerful source of security and discretion for decision-making based on highly sensitive and contextual data. Privado is the most powerful source of security and discretion, the trusted advisor to the sovereign, and certainly to the cypherpunks. My name is Evin McMullen. I encourage all of you this DevCon to hydrate, be excellent to each other, and be cypherpunks. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see all of you on chain.
Thank you very much. Now we'll have the chance to have a Q&A session. Any question?
Did anyone in here learn something new today? Excellent. That was the goal. I really appreciate your guys' attention. I'm not going to quiz you on medieval memes and cryptography.